Yo, what is going on, guys? Sekapoko here, bringing you another Genshin Impact video. This video is going to go over how I got all the way from doing no damages on my Mona to bigger peeping damage on the Mona. And this takes a little bit of work, and that the rotation is a little complicated, and I will go over and instruct you guys in exactly how you can do the rotation in your gameplay so you can get bigger peeping damage on your Mona. This is one of the coolest ways to do it, and there are many ways, of course, in order to boost the damage for Mona, and I'll be going them over the video. So guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. So in this video, what we're trying to do is get 1 million damage from Mona. But you know what? The road is long and hard, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of damages and a lot of things. So for this video, 3 things have come out to the game to make this a little bit easier, and I've actually been using different artifact sets, etc. I'll be using them over this video, and I'll be showing you the different artifact sets that I actually had. Now, the final artifact build that I ended up getting was this one right here, where I have this Gust of Nostalgia for the new Hydro set. I ended up getting a flower for Noblesse, which is actually pretty decent, not insane, but definitely okay. I ended up getting a Royal Pocket Watch, which sucks balls, and I still cannot get a better Royal Pocket Watch. If I get this thing beasted out with a little bit of EM, a little bit of crit damage, I could definitely boost this damage even further. I definitely got a Hydro piece here with a little bit 12% damage that I did not use in this video yet, but critting with this thing is a pain in the butt because my stats are actually kind of low. Going into my Hydro Goblet, this thing could definitely see some extra love. I'm out of Artifact XP right now, and once I get a little bit more Artifact XP, I will be making a follow-up video with my Mona to see if I can actually break the 1 million marker with Mona. Now, the last piece over here, I got a C damage piece for my headpiece with a Royal Mask and this little thing. And what I'm going to be using for this video is going to be a Refine 5 Widzith. And of course, it's level 89 because I ran out of Mystic Enhancement Ore. I'll try to get a little bit more in a little bit, and we'll see what we can hit when I finally finalize my build and everything. For overall build for my Mona, she is at 36% crit rate, 199.9% crit damage because I just feel like that 0.1 is just too much. Going over 200% is just not the way. Kick W. And we're currently at 98% Hydro bonus damage for our overall set. Now, if I go into Mona and I actually go into her constellations, right now I am at C4 because I cannot stop pulling Mona. It's really annoying. But the thing that's going to boost my damage really heavily is the C3. The C4 kind of helps for extra crit rate. The C2 just helps for normal attacks and stuff. C1 helps for extra stuff. But C1 and C3 are really going to boost the damage for this to make this happen. Can you do this kind of damage without this? The answer is no. But you'll only hit about 30% less. So, I mean, you can still get really high damage regardless, even if you do not have high constellations. So the thing I'm going to be going for on Mona, of course, is at the end build is trying to get above 200% C damage, trying to get about 225, 230% C damage overall. And then I'll see if my damage can actually pump even further and get even higher damage on those sets. And try to get my EM even higher, because right now it's only at 19. If I get my EM even higher and boost that up even higher, it's really well. I have tried other EM sets and other things, but this is what I have so far. All right, so my team is nowhere near perfect, and what I'm going to be going over this team is I'm going to be going over how I need to improve this team to get this to even higher damage, and why I am not doing, and why I'm pretty far away from this so far. So the first thing that we're using is Mona with a Widzith. The reason the Widzith is very important is because what happens with Widzith is you get C damage on the thing, you have actually increased base attack, of course, with a decent amount, but you get the proc on the Widzith, which gives you the biggest surge damage proc in the entire game. The procs that we're looking for are the elemental damage proc or the elemental mastery proc, which are both really, really good. The attack percentage proc, not as good. You get 120% attack when it procs for about 10 seconds on this proc. So you have a 10-second window once you switch to Mona to do damage. But there are other procs in the game that last this time window, and you want to stack these kinds of procs together in order to get the damage. Whenever I go into an abyss chamber or any kind of abyss or domain or whatever, the thing about the Widzith that you need to know is that the Widzith is going to have an internal cooldown. The internal cooldown on the Widzith is going to make it so that you are not able to use the Widzith proc for an entire 30 seconds after you enter the domain, and you'll have to actually wait around while you're waiting for everything to proc. Once that's done, then of course you can apply the Hydro and then start your rotation. Now, one of the things that we're going to be using to try to hit 1 million damage on Mona is, of course, we're using the floor buff Flum from floor 7, which is the highest damaging boosting thing you can get. And if you didn't know, the floor buff on floor 7 is going to boost your critical damage by a significant amount, so give you even higher damage, so it's going to boost it way higher than you would normally hit. The best 3 that I have seen to get that you can actually get for different buffs that you get from the stages are the elemental burst buff or the character enhancement buff, getting 40% attack and 20% minus 20 or 10 or 15% defense or whatever. Those are really good. 30% attack is good too. Whichever ones you get that are boosting your overall damage to the best. I typically go with the elemental burst damage if it ends up getting that way. So this is where I ended up with this current test. Now, the first thing I do when I go into the fight is I go in with Mona, and I'm actually going up and sprinting over to the enemy and applying a hydro particle. By sprinting over to the enemy and causing a hydro particle, what I can do is then switch to my Sucrose. Now, Sucrose, if you did not know, has an ability in her set. Whenever Sucrose triggers a swirl, all party members in the party with a matching element excluding Sucrose will have their elemental mastery boosted for 8 seconds. And because you're swirling in this, you actually get 50 elemental mastery put over to your Mona. The next thing you do, of course, is that once you ever use her E ability at all, you're actually going to get 20% of Sucrose's elemental mastery transferred over to Mona as well. So 50 elemental mastery plus whatever Sucrose has. The next thing, of course, on top of that is the artifact set for the Viridescent Viriner. The Viridescent Viriner set for the 4 set piece bonus is going to increase swirl damage by 60%, but also decrease elemental resistance to the element infused in the swirl by 40% for 10 seconds. And this Viridescent Viriner set is a big part of this. By reducing the elemental resistance on the enemy, now they have minus 40% resistances toward Hydro, and now I can actually do extended Hydro damage for 10 seconds. On top of this, I'm going to be using Benny and actually removed all his artifacts. I, of course, have a above C1 Benny, so I have a boosted Bennett attack, but I have C5 Benny, so I can actually get a high amount of damage off this one. My talent level Benny, of course, is only level 11 right now, and I say only level 11 because I'm going for a level 13 on Benny eventually and try to get it even higher. But his current stat ratio bonus for a boosting attack is 106% of his total attack ratio. And unfortunately, my Sucrose does not have a very large amount of stats. My Sucrose right now is at 595 elemental mastery in total, and their weapon is only at level 40, and I do need to boost this up, probably get another 100 off of this, and try to boost up my artifacts a little bit further because I'm only at plus 16 on this one. This one's at plus 16, and I need to finish out some more. But each of the pieces, of course, do have elemental mastery on them, and some of them have very high amounts, some of them have mid-range amounts, but this one, of course, is a purple piece, and I do need to get myself a Viridescent piece with this on it, or potentially an EM piece with Viridescent to try to get, you know, a little bit more damage in. But it's really hard to get the correct pieces that you need, but I did get an EM headpiece with the EM base stat roll, not in the main stat roll. I still have not gotten the right pieces for this, but trying to get all the correct pieces is very difficult, and as you can see, it does take some time. The next thing I'm going to be doing here is going to be using the Bennett ultimate to apply a pyro particle to the enemy. This is a very important step because now you're actually able to use Mona in conjunction. The last thing I'm going to be using right now is going to be Klee, and Klee's going to be using is a Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayers, and this is going to boost my overall attack on the character that I switch after Klee to 48%. Now, on top of all these stats that I just mentioned, of course, you're going to give Mona a Pyro Resonance, which puts her overall stat ratio at 1959 attack, as well as crappy Elemental Mastery. Now, when you use your Mona ultimate, since the Pyro Particle is already up on the enemy, you can now use Mona's ultimate on top of that, which will cause a Vaporize. Because you're copying a Vaporize, you can then switch over to a Bennett, wait a few seconds for the internal cooldown of Elemental Mastery to dissipate, and then use Bennett's E, which is going to be a Pyro ability, in order to proc an Elemental Reaction. All right, so for the initial, I'll show you guys on a Pyro, just find what the stat ratio is going to look like kind of after all the boosts. So overall, I'm about 3,600 at overall attack with the attack buff. Whirling burst. All right. With the elemental mastery buff, with the elemental damage buff, you can see I'm, of course, getting 188 elemental mastery from the Sucrose being transferred over to me, which is not the most, and I can definitely get more out of it if I use different characters. But the elemental damage reduction and all that stuff on the enemies is very important there too. And the overall stat ratios that I get for Mona actually boost her overall Hydro damage to 191% if we're going to be using it for Hydro damage. That, of course, means with the EM boost with Mona, with this, that'll be an additional 480 plus the 180 that I had originally, so that'd be a total of 660 elemental mastery that I would have in comparison for all 3 procs. All right, guys. Well, my name is Sekapoko. Hope this detailed analysis on how you can use Mona's ultimate effectively to do big, large damages in the gamage, and hopefully that you guys can use this on your Mona in order to get the one-shot procs off on enemies in order to kill them instantly. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Peace.